have spaghetti, we have salad, we have water. Uh, usually we have a little more, but the dynamics of things have changed. I don't know if everybody in the club knows our treasurer, Roxanne, my wife, she had heat exhaustion and what was it, epilepsy. She went into two comas. She was at UCI for like 79 hours. We went ahead and had the EKG, the EGG, the CAT scan, the MRI twice, spinal tap twice. For her to get a clean bill of health, she was okay. Okay, like glory be to God. Okay, so that right there changes the dynamics in my household, especially if there's only three of us. So I just wanted to inform you what's going on, but glory be to God. Okay, can we everybody stand so we can go ahead and give the Pledge of Allegiance? I'll start. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Been saying a pledge of allegiance for a long time. I think most of the people in here have been saying the Pledge of Allegiance. Growing up in school, elementary school, back in our day, it wasn't all of this chaos, diversity. Back then, they told us to line up and take a shot, and everybody got in line. Things were eliminated, like polio and things of the sort like that. So my point of it is things have changed from back then. And then all of a sudden, I want to go ahead and say, from the last time we had our meeting, we skipped July because it was on Independence Day. But our political campaign from the last 3 weeks with our new nominee for President of the United States, I think everybody in this room is feeling a whole lot better. Now, I want to say this, because at first, when it first started to happen, I was taken back. I was like, whoa, are we making the right move? But the momentum that we have, this election is so important. I don't know if people are watching Project 2025. If you were in a union, I mean, they want to take it all away. They want to take Social Security away. They want to dismantle things and not have a better remedy. They want to take minimum wage away. So my point of it is that we need to stand up for the fabric of America. We need to talk up. We need to speak up. We need to write up. We need to post up. Okay? Because it just seems like I said, it's rolling and it's rolling and it's rolling. Okay, let me go ahead and get down to the agenda because we have some guests. Now, we're already late. And first thing right here, we have, since she was the treasurer, she sent me with the report. Okay, now, first thing, before I go any further, I need Rebecca to stand up. I need Vern to stand up. And Roxanne is not here. We had a very successful fundraiser. And Rebecca and Vern and Roxanne, along with got people like Anne Marie Randall, and we had a grand time. I want everybody to know we had a grand time. And you can't do this by yourself. I want you to know that. We fought, we discussed, we went back and forth, but guess what? It turned out real beautiful. And I want to say to those people, thank you. And thank you very much. Okay, I'm gonna get to that, Vern, because I want everybody to know out of that fundraiser. Okay, I want this club to know we raised and donated $800 to Mr. Tran, and we donated $800 to what is her name for the yes, Miss Marquez. And we donated $1,600 altogether to that campaign as a club. I don't know anybody to know that. We did that as a club. Okay? So do you think that if Mr. Tran goes up there and beats Michelle Steele, he won't remember this club? He's gonna remember this club. You think Miss Marquez, when she gets up there and wins as a supervisor, you think she's gonna forget this club? They're not gonna forget the club. Why? Because we got behind them early. The money that they got it before, while they had to report it on their last reporting. So we did that as a club. And everybody who participated, I want to say thank you. From the bottom of my heart, thank you. Because we did something moving forward. We could have had the money in our pockets. No, we decided to put it out for action for the benefit of the people. So, so I'll get us to Vern. Where's Vern at? You could just show me this.
Yes, this. Do we have any guests here who haven't been here before? I think so. Yes, sir.
Oh, minus one.
What's your name?
Minus one.
Juan?
Yeah.
Maria Luis.
Maria?
Melinda.
Nico.
They don't have last names. Marina Mondragon.
Marina, yeah, Mondragon. A lot of new people. Oh. And Sheena Charles, Councilwoman from Fullerton. And Jose Moreno, our favorite councilman from the past in Anaheim. Hasn't been here in a little while. Kelby Romero. A lot of you are new here. Not just the guests. That's enough. We're running a little late. I'll get this report. That's what I want to. All right. Well, who wants to copy the treasury report?
So she did the treasury report, and even with us donating that $1,600, because we was going for a goal of $1,000 to each one, but we gave them $800, and even with that, our balance today is $767. So I think that that's saying a whole lot. We're sustained as a club because all we have to do at this point, we're getting ready to pay our rent, and that'll be basically our bills for the whole year. So yes, and I want to say to our guests, thank you for coming. Could have been out other things doing other. It's always something to do, but thank you for coming and spending the time with us. Okay, so I wanted to put that out there. The treasury report is out there. Can I get a motion on the treasury report? I got a second. All in favor? All opposed? This treasury report is passed. Okay, so now on our agenda, what do we have? Our people, we have some people here from Vern, from the We're
From Tenants United Santa Ana.
I'm gonna let Vern introduce him. Come on over here, bro.
All right. Thank you. That's all.
Sophia and I and some of you all went to a housing forum down at, that the city put on down at Ponderosa Community Center. Everybody there said that we needed rent control, and our city leaders who were there, Mayor Ashley and our councilwoman, we shouldn't talk about. They feel that we have enough rent control, that the California state law AB 1482 is good enough. There's at least 4 problems with that. It's not a very strong law. It was made in a big compromise with the landlords who are very powerful in Sacramento. It allows them to raise the rent by cost of living, which is fair, plus 5%, all the way up to 10%. And this last year they were able to raise rents 8.8%. I found out that our friends in Santa Ana have an ordinance that only allows it to be raised by cost of living, plus whatever repairs they can prove that they made. It's not enforced. A lot of landlords break this law, and the tenants don't know any better. They don't know what to do about it, or they don't know about it, or some of them are undocumented and they're afraid to say anything or afraid to get evicted. And we don't have anywhere to go in Anaheim. They send you up to the public law center that's very understaffed and overworked. But in Santa Ana, they have their ordinance has created a renters, what's it called? A renters board, a renters board that can make sure the landlords are adhering to the law. There's another practice that we hear a lot. I heard it from Sophia and Jose and other people, that landlords will tell people to leave so they can make improvements, and then after a few months they'll just rent it out to somebody else at a much higher price. And I'm not sure if that's legal or not. It shouldn't be. It's not in Santa Ana though, right? Fourth problem, it doesn't cover, the state law doesn't cover mobile home parks, and we know how we have rents are jacked up a lot of mobile home parks in Anaheim and elsewhere. And so the more I heard about what they did in Santa Ana, I wanted to emulate what they did. Would you like to talk a little bit about what happens with your neighbors, Sophia, and then we'll have our guests on. This is Sophia Romero. She works a lot with the tenants who live nearby.
Oh, you're powerful.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sofia Romero. I'm a community leader in District 3. Just wanted to, before we start, I think it's very important, Vern, when we have a meeting, especially because we have guests that don't understand English, that we have somebody to translate. Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Sofía Romero. Yo soy una líder del Distrito 3 para la comunidad. Y comento de que es importante cuando hacemos una junta, una reunión, que tengamos intérprete, ya que tenemos personas que no entienden inglés. So, I think this is for me. I'm gonna step away. As you all know, we are apartment renters, and I think it's very important that our city mayor listens to our concerns, because we do have high rents. There's no control of the rent, the increase of the rent, and no landlords are being held accountable for them breaking the rules. And I feel that everybody needs to get together. We need to work on this. And it doesn't matter who we support. It doesn't matter what it is. What matters is because we work, we pay our rent, and we have our kids that are growing up in the city. So I see a lot of new buildings being built and they mentioned a lot, the mayor at the last meeting mentioned a lot about, I forget what she exactly said, but mentioning that these are like low income for who? Because I don't see a list being offered for our communities. Not only that, but I help a lot of people in the community. And when I personally take them to the city hall, there's no assistance. You have to go through a long process for them to even get any type of income assistance. And I think that is so sad because we are the ones that make the city stand. We are the ones that work together to make the city look beautiful. And I just think that we all have to continue working on this. I mean, it's not going to happen from one day to another, but we really, really have to put it out there. I think that if we support anybody, it doesn't matter what council person we're supporting, everybody has to work with us. And we are here to continue this road. We can't start today and then just, we just don't do it anymore. We are being affected, our kids are being affected by all these increases, and people are getting evicted. And we talk a lot about preventing homelessness. And right now we have a person here that is going through an eviction after 17 years, just because someone is related to the owner and they feel they have the right to take a tenant that's been there for 17 or more years to bring in a family member. I honestly feel sick about seeing this everywhere. It happens everywhere. If you go to the city, you have family members working there, and if you're related to them, then everything goes well. If you're at the district, same thing happens, school districts. No, we can't do this anymore. We have to be fair to everyone. So estoy platicando de cómo nuestra alcaldesa ha hablado de cómo se están haciendo muchos edificios de bajos recursos. Esto se habla mucho de bajos recursos y recursos, pero ¿de quién? ¿Para quién? Porque yo no lo miro. Estamos mirando una situación donde personas como alguien que está aquí está siendo desalojada después de vivir 17 años en esa unidad y no hay un tipo de asistencia. Tienen esperando y esperando y son de diferentes distritos las familias. Estos dueños de apartamentos tienen que hacerse responsables y se tiene que ver algo para poder parar todos estos incrementos de la renta. Es ridículo ver cómo nos suben la renta, pero no reparan, pero no te proveen seguridad, pero no hacen nada por su inquilino. Ellos, siento yo que ellos abusan mucho a esta persona, la están sacando simplemente porque el manager quiere meter a un familiar. A mí, sinceramente, eso me tiene muy enfadada porque lo miro en todo. Si trabajas para la ciudad, si trabajas para el distrito escolar, si trabajas para muchas cosas, si eres familiar de te meten. Si es por quien conoces, eso no es justo porque todos pagan impuestos, todos pagan sus biles. Entonces, ¿por qué estamos dejando que el favoritismo esté tomando acción en esto? Pienso yo que tenemos que trabajar juntos, no importa quién sea el concejal o la concejal, no importa quién estemos apoyando, todos estamos en la misma ciudad y pienso yo que estamos por el mismo propósito. Entonces, espero que juntos podamos hacer algo y nos enseñen cómo hacerlo para tener lo mismo que hizo Santa Ana. Gracias.
Let me introduce our people, then you can translate what you said. Yes, and then you can translate what I said. So when I heard about the success in Santa Ana, I wanted to see how they did that, and I invited some of the leaders from Tenants United Santa Ana to see how they accomplished their great rent control in Santa Ana, and if there's some way we could replicate that here in Anaheim. We invited Tenants United Santa Ana.
So, invitaron a la organización de Inquilinos Unidos de la ciudad de Santa Ana, ya que ellos fueron las personas que trajeron este control de rentas. Entonces, what else to say?
We'd like to do the same thing in Anaheim.
Y
maybe.
queremos hacer lo mismo en la ciudad de Anaheim.
Tenants
So,
United.
la bienvenida, señor Daniels.
I'll introduce myself. My name is Nate Greensides. I'm a resident of of Santa Ana, and I'm a volunteer with Tenants United. Mi nombre es Nate Greensides. Yo soy un voluntario con el grupo de Inquilinos Unidos de Santa Ana.
Hi, everyone. My name is Meshley. I'm a renter in Santa Ana and also a volunteer of Tenants United. Hola a todos, mi nombre es Meshley. Yo soy una inquilina en la ciudad de Santa Ana y también soy voluntaria del grupo Inquilinos Unidos por Santa Ana.
Hello, my name is Albert Castillo. I'm also part of Tenants United in Santa Ana. I'm also a member of Chicanos Unidos.
Thank you for having us. We started meeting back in 2017, like toward the end of the year, much like this. It started like this. A bunch of us just deciding that it was time to do something about the ever increasing rents and the amount of displacement that was going on in our community. Within a couple of months, we formed a coalition, and then in 2018, we launched a ballot petition to put rent control on the ballot. To put something on the ballot, you have to collect the signatures of 10% of the registered voters in your city. So for us at the time, it was like 9,000 something. I can't remember the exact number. We wound up being short just 400 signatures by the end of our effort. And we went to City Council to request that they honor the 9,299 signatures that we did collect. And they refused to do so unanimously. Because I think that they knew that if we could put it on the ballot, it would pass because the need was there and we're a majority renter city. So then we tried again in 2020. We launched our campaign in February 2020. And then in March 2020, the world shut down. And because of the emergency stay-at-home orders, we weren't allowed to go out and collect signatures. And we tried to petition for collecting signatures by mail, and they told us that that wasn't possible. But then I think they did it to try and get Newsom out of office, so that was interesting. So by the time that the emergency orders were done, we still tried our best to go out there and gather signatures. We even had drive-by signature events where people would pull up in their cars or just walk up to us and we got a signature. We ended up getting 4,000 still, which was a big push in just like 2 months overall of gathering signatures. Again, we asked the city council to put it on the ballot. They refused to. So I think a lot of us worked to get those city council members out of office. And then by our third try, there was enough support on the city council to just pass the ordinance through a city council vote. We had 3 votes for sure at the start of it all. Those 3 candidates ran on a pro-rent control platform. But we were missing that 4th vote, and we were actually able, through our organizing, to convince a candidate who had ran an anti-rent control platform. And I can let Albert add details, but I think for the stage you're at now, one thing that is really important would be to make sure that the ordinance that you fight for is one that suits the needs of your local community. One way that we were able to do that was by having community forums where we actually asked renters what they needed, how high they wanted the rent cap to be, if they wanted a rent board, what they wanted the rent board of the makeup of the rent board to look like, what protections they wanted under just cause. So yeah, I think that's the important first step. And also to familiarize yourself with the laws at the state level that might actually limit the power of your rent control ordinance. For instance, unfortunately, at the moment, rent control can't apply to single-family homes. It also can't apply to new construction because of the state law Costa-Hawkins that limits this. AB 1482, like Bern was mentioning, is what's considered the statewide rent cap. It doesn't really work that way, as he was saying. In Anaheim, rents could be raised up to 8.4%, and we know that that is a number that displaces people. The other thing about it is that it actually expires in 2030, and that's not so far off. But I'll let Albert and Nate.
Yeah, prior to the rent control, we were fighting gentrification in Santa Ana. They were building a lot of luxury homes there. Not for us, not for people living in Santa Ana. They were building it for people to come into Santa Ana. And the problem with that they were pushing out people that have been living there a long time. And also not just that, but also the political views of people were changing too, because it's a democratic city. And we started getting people that were higher income and more Republican. So we couldn't figure out how to stop them, and they just keep building. So that's when we started looking at rent control, is to keep the people that are there in those neighborhoods that have been there for a long time, that have invested many years in our neighborhoods. And that's where rent control started coming from. So yeah, if you have any questions and stuff right now, I think you can ask any questions. But let's also mention that the rental board, which is a big thing, because like you have it here in the state of California, but where do you go to? Who's going to help you out? That's the difference. A rental board, you have people that are appointed by city council, and is it appointed city council, and then also people volunteer, and then they get appointed through that. So that is the difference from that. So you have issues and stuff. The residents can go there and bring their issues within the board. Nate, do you want to say something?
A lot of the opposition against rent control in Santa Ana comes from a place of not understanding what their neighbors are actually experiencing. And one of the most effective manners of organizing that ultimately, I think, made a big difference was knocking on people's doors and asking them what they actually experience, and encouraging them to not only share their story with their elected officials, whether it was virtual comments, because at the time it was during the pandemic, or written comments, and then once it was in person, again, making their stories and testimonies known in person. But then amongst one another and realizing, oh, what's going on next door is actually happening to me. And even for people who aren't renters, recognizing that a part of the struggle, part of the reason there's no parking in their neighborhoods is because families can't afford to live on their own. Their kids are going off to college, coming back home and living with their parents, because these kids with college degrees can't even afford the rent fresh out of college. They have to help their parents pay the rent. And so talking to people and making sure that the voices of the people and the stories of the people are shared with those who are making power, and making it clear to the people in power, if you don't listen to the stories and the struggles of the people, you will be replaced. We replaced Miguel Pulido, who has now voiced his opposition to what's appearing on the ballot in Santa Ana to make the council enacted protections permanently voter controlled. And for 30 years, he said he opposed rent control. And what happened in that time? Rents went up. No new housing was developed. People are struggling even more than when he came into power. The old way of thinking is gone. There are new people who are coming to power, and making the people's stories heard and making it known to the people who have decisions, making power and influence, is what really makes the difference. And so the more you can talk to people about what exists at the state level, what protections they already have, making sure that whatever local protections need to exist locally are actually reflective of the community is what makes a big difference.
It's going to happen in Anaheim. It's going to happen in Costa Mesa. You know, they cannot stop it. And a lot of these candidates, after we passed it, they started using rent control on their platform. And when they started saying we support rent control, they started to win. And that's where we're at right now, because rent control is the way to win in Santa Ana. And it should be in Anaheim. It's going to be in Costa Mesa too, because it's going to happen. So, but if you have any questions, you can ask us on anything. But I do want to mention that a lot of the words that, or a lot of the writings on the initiative was written by us. We did a lot of work. It took us months, if not a year or so. And it was a lot of work we did. So it's already written. So, you know, if the city of Anaheim needs that, it's a lot of work we put through it. And the motorhomes was the first, not the first time, but it was one of the things in Orange County that hasn't happened. And when other lawyers told us that it could not be done, we asked UCI students to do research. They did the research, they came back and said, yes, you can do it. So mobile homes was a big thing because they're on set income, you know, and rent's going up and they're gonna become homeless. So that was a big issue for us. Yeah, if you have any questions.
Just to clarify real quickly, Miguel Pulido turned out, but he lost his election for county probably because people didn't like it.
Yeah. Do you have a
I
question?
I think I saw a hand over here first.
First of all, thank you guys for explaining this to us. This is all very new for us, and I wanted to ask, did you guys write down all your strategy that you use, the steps that you follow? Anywhere that you can share? I wanted to know if you guys wrote anywhere, you know, the strategies that you used and, you know, how, all the steps you took. And the reason why I ask is because if you did, would you guys be willing to share that with us? And, you know, somebody can make copies so we can do something similar. It might not be the same thing because again, you know, every city is different. But so it can kind of guide us and then we can also do our own research on the things that we have to work on so we can get this, so we can make this happen because I think of, you know, the people that live off Social Security. So it's very sad. I am a caregiver and it's very unfortunate to see these people that get hardly no income. And, you know, yes, thank God for those that were qualified for housing, but there's some that don't even have housing programs. So either you pay rent or you eat. So you have, you know, a choice and there shouldn't be a choice. I think everybody should be able to afford. And like I said, you know, we have to hold people accountable. And it doesn't matter who it is, but we need to make them accountable. And if the people that are representing our cities care about us, then, you know, don't care about us while we're supporting you through your campaigns. Show us you do by supporting what affects your, you know, communities and all the residents. Because I think this is very important.
Just to answer that real quick, I don't think we ever wrote it down how we went about doing it, but I feel like we'd be more than willing to sit down with you and explain the different steps that we took. Also, there's a statewide organization called Tenants Together. It's based out of San Francisco, and they actually helped pass the very first rent control law in the state of California, which was enacted in San Francisco. They have a toolkit that breaks everything down, and it's in English and Spanish. So I would highly recommend you take a look at that first. But we'd be more than willing to share what we did also. Tenants Together. Mm-hmm.
One question.
First thing I want to say, thank you for coming. I was down at your Santa Ana meeting when they had to vote on the STRs rentals, the short-term rentals, when they was fighting for them to vote on that. First thing, everybody does know that over half of our city, 55 to 60% of our city are renters. Also, that 55% of our city is Hispanic. We have 4 Hispanic members on our city council, and never once have they ever brought up the agenda of rent control. Not only have they not only brought it up, we done threw it in their face. And asking them to go ahead and think about the children who was the real effects of, victims of this homelessness. Because when our renters are stable, our city is more stable because people are more stable. So my point, like you said, it's going to happen. It's just a matter of going ahead and just getting the right tweaks on this. And for one, people in this Democratic club would love to work with you because I'm sure the Anaheim Democratic Club would love to be a sponsor behind rent control, letting everybody know that we stand for the masses, for the people. And we don't, like I said, our city council, because they're in the back pocket of the special interests. It's just like you're saying, the gentrification, 4th Street. Okay, I go to Santa Ana, I feed the homeless first and Grand many times. Okay, so I know your situation, but fighting gentrification, like you said, knocking on the doors, making people aware, and I think that's the biggest thing, making the people aware. And like you said, knocking on the door to get it done. I think that's wouldn't you say that would be the biggest factor? Just making it.
We did a lot of knocking on doors. It's going to the residents.
And those 4 are also Democrats. Forgot that part.
Well,
The Latino part. They're also Democrats.
Well, we got Democrats too that we're fighting against too. The mayor, she's against rent control. And we have 2 other city council members who are also against, because the association has a lot of money. The apartment association, when they support a candidate, they're going to support, or they're going to be anti-rent. So if you look at who supports, who the money's coming from, if it's association, the renters association, then it's not going to happen with that candidate. So we need to replace them. And that's what we did. We started going in there and also convincing, because why would you not want people to not have their own homes, And if it's you're in there for the association and all this money, then you're not for the people, you're not here for the people of Anaheim. And that's what we told the city council, and we'll tell the others too. And at this time, we're also looking to replace the mayor ourselves. The mayor was a good person at one time. As we know, power gets to them and they change.
You're not for the people, you're not a Democrat.
That is true.
Next course.
Councilwoman Charles.
So I came here specifically to learn from you folks. I was, for those of you who don't know, I'm council member in Fullerton, just right down the street in Harvard. I am one of 2 renters on our city council out of 5. And I take it to heart as a union member who's a renter with my family, right? I take it very much to heart that, I'm a resident of Fullerton and I don't plan on leaving it, right? So, but I am also at the whims of my landlord, who thankfully has kept my rent low. And so we have benefited from his self-imposed rent cap. When I lived in West LA for a few years, I had a landlord who kept to the West LA ordinance of 3% until they didn't, until they thought they could take advantage of me. And then I had a lawyer send them a letter because I could, right? Because they had the ordinance there to back me up. So I've seen, and I was a single mom then too, and it was really important. I've lived under it. I've seen how it makes the family who's living in that housing, which is in Fullerton about half of our housing, and in my district, a little over half, because I represent the district that has all the colleges in it, right? Except for Fullerton College, but we've got the universities, the 3 universities on the east side. And I do think that rent control is really important. And I'm saying that as a council member, and I'm saying it here publicly. I also said it on the apartment association questionnaire, which is why they didn't give me any money, and I was fine with that. Because I was like, I'm going to be honest, and then you can decide what you're going to do. But this is who I am, and this is what I'm going to be. And I won, and I beat their candidates. So I think it is important to speak up about this. As a professor and someone that reads research literature, the biggest argument that I hear from the folks who like to quote the economists usually really aggravate me, I'll tell you, because I had an economist once say to me, that doesn't matter, it's just real world data. They didn't care about like people's actual incomes. But if you listen to those folks who argue with the economists, what they'll tell you is that Where rent control has been imposed, people find it harder to find apartments. It makes it harder for everybody else because now renters are stable, and somehow that's bad. I'm wondering if you have come up with a good way to answer that back, because I'm still kind of grappling with how can I fight back against that, even though I know in my heart that it's, BS.
Yeah, if you look at the apartment association's website, and I should say it's funny, but it's not. People do believe that, but they say that they're not going to build people, or the city's not going to build more apartments and so on, and that's going to hurt your city. As we know, in Santa Ana, they have built, I don't know how many times over what the state asked for. They built quite a bit. And it's not helping the residents there. Very few have moved in. It's mostly people coming from the outside that find Santa Ana a lot cheaper. Closer they can get to the beach, well, out of Costa Mesa to be Santa Ana before Anaheim. So they move as close as they can in Santa Ana. So they start coming in there and moving there into nice luxury apartments that are very expensive, But it's mostly just lies, and I would suggest you look at the apartment association and look at what they say about why not to support it. And the biggest thing again is that you're not going to have developers, and this way you're not going to have homes and stuff, which is again is their luxury homes. You can't afford it, 4,000 a month. They're way up there. So it's a lie. It's all lies. So
Yeah, I think just to add to what Albert was saying, another common thing that's said against rent control is that it'll halt new development, which isn't true. There's plenty of research that shows there's plenty of development in cities where there is rent control. And it actually makes sense, right? Because if your landlord can no longer increase your rent perpetually as much as they want, whenever they want, if they look into new investments, they would have to invest in new buildings because of that state law that I talked about earlier, Costa-Hawkins. Rent control doesn't apply to new buildings. It's actually an incentive for new development. And like for the growth of the city, and the people that are moving in can afford those market rate rents. So yeah, you provide stability for the people that are already living in your city. And then there's new development for people who want to move in, or people who, because they had rent control, they were stable enough in their lives to pursue higher education, to pursue a business idea, and eventually can buy a home or move out to somewhere that is more expensive. I think they just have these cop-out arguments that aren't based truly in people's experiences, and they also don't take into account that currently there's so many people paying over 50% of their income on rent. People on Social Security are paying like 100% of their income on rent. So how will they buy food? How would they cover their co-pays when they go see the doctor? And all those city council members who are allegedly Democrats, when we first asked for rent control in Santa Ana, it was an all Latino council. There was only one Republican. The rest of them were Democrats, and they voted against rent control unanimously. They all like to posture and have these free clinics for people to go and get seen by a doctor to get their teeth cleaned, because they acknowledge that people can't pay for those services. They have, like during the pandemic, you'd see like very conservative city council members hosting food distributions, because they understand people can't pay their food, but then they want to allow landlords to raise the rent forever. Well, why do you think people can't pay for their food? And I think that's a good argument to bring up to those candidates and city council members who like to show up for those pictures and have those events where they make it seem like they're on the side of people who are struggling. But when it comes down to it, when they could make the decision that would actually change the material circumstances and allow for stability in the lives of those people, they're unwilling to support a policy that would be so impactful in the lives of people who can't afford their rent.
I've encountered that argument too, and I've thought long and hard about how to counter it. And one thing people need to get straight about rent control is it's not a solve-all problem to the California's housing issues. Rent control, rent stabilization is meant to ensure that residents who have been in a community can afford to remain. It's not meant for newcomers. And the issue with newcomers not being able to afford vacant units, because that's the real issue, is that there's vacant units being advertised at absurd prices. Just because somebody lists their house for sale on Zillow for $2 million doesn't mean they're actually going to get it purchased for $2 million. These are vacant units that are priced unaffordably. What rent control can do is it can force landlords who actually have a genuine interest in developing and providing housing to put profits collected in rent towards actually doing that instead of keeping profits in their pockets. Without rent control, they can keep increasing rents however much they want, and they never have to take any of that profit collected to actually developing housing and providing new units that would actually drive down the price of vacant units and new housing.
What I'm hearing is that in a city that's, like Kenneth said, majority renters, if a council candidate runs strongly on rent control, they're likely to win. And I think that's one way that we can get it. It should be mentioned too carefully that almost everybody on our council right now gets money from the apartment association, and that's why we're not getting it that way. Also, one thing I disagree with is it's not just going to happen automatically here. It's going to take a lot of work from everybody here and everyone you know. And for that reason, and there are some more questions, but anybody that wants to be part of Tenants United Anaheim, I'd like you to sign up over there with Rebecca. We got some sheets there because I think this is something we should put a lot of work into for the next year or two or however long it takes. Who was first?
I'm gonna do something quick on another subject, Bill. It's that I know because lived there, actually 50 years old, had a rent strike and a successful rent strike. But when you can file things in court if you know that will delay eviction for months, and you can file them in sequence, and you can collect rents from all the tenants. If you had like 60 tenants out of 80, which was what our situation was, which was spread out. It wasn't just one 80-unit building, several buildings owned by the same landlord, and you would hold the rent. They have a very strong incentive to settle. And I was wondering if that kind of tactic was being used, or you've seen it used in this area.
I can start. And rent strikes, yes, they can be effective. One thing that we always recommend is to do an assessment first of where people stand, because rent strikes can be pretty risky and result ultimately, if not done properly, in mass displacement. That being said, there is a lot of power to be found in the fact that literally the landlord depends on everybody's rents, for sure. Seem like there's.
Okay, so it was a grassroots what we did this with nonprofits, and we came down to grassroots. We're not a nonprofit. We're just volunteers in this organization and stuff, and that says a lot because we did it. We were up to 3 a.m. sometimes, and well, they were, not me, but so it was a lot of work to get there, and so like Vern is saying, Tenants United Anaheim is a good way to start. And if you're really serious about getting rent control here, then you need to volunteer just like us. We're not getting paid to do this. We put so many hours, so many days and years into this. But you don't have to wait that long because a lot of that stuff we can help you with. We can help you start organizing, start getting things moving, petitions, but a lot of it's knocking on doors, and that's important. But when the politicals see you knocking on doors and stuff, they're gonna get scared, because all that money they're getting doesn't mean nothing. Because we had a recall against was Jesse Lopez. They were trying to take out one member out of there so they can have majority. And we have never won that area. It was Ward 3, which was more influential, richer area of Santa Ana. We have never won that, but we were able to stop that recall on her. And they poured in $800,000 to get her out. 800,000, a lot from the police association and then the apartment association, 800,000, and they couldn't take her out. So she's running again this year. And also the initiatives on the ballot, because when we first started, it was, plan A was to get it on the ballot by the people, and the only way they can take it out is by the people. Is no mayor, city council can ever take it out if it comes in. So we figured this is the way to solidify it, but we couldn't do it as they explained here. So now, we went to Plan B, got city council to support it. Now we're going back to Plan A now. So they passed it, but we want to make sure if a mayor changes or city council, or the mayor stays there or any city council, they cannot change it. Only by the people.
I wanted to say too that the reason that we ended up pushing the city council to pass it after there was a new city council and there was more progressive council members was also because it was right about the time where the emergency protections from COVID were going to expire. So we resorted to that because it was going to be the most immediate way to get renters in our city the protections that they needed after the eviction moratorium was going to end. And like I said before, the very first campaign, we were only 400 signatures short. So we were so close. And honestly, a lot of the delay came from it being our first time doing it, and then we had to learn along the way. So I wouldn't, basically, I wouldn't count out that option for Anaheim. I think that would be a good option, especially if you have a hostile city council or council members who won't do the right thing. You don't have to depend on them. You can just do a ballot initiative and collect the signatures that you need. And I think that you would be successful. And you wouldn't have to reinvent the wheel. So you'd have a very different starting point. And also just contextually, based on where people are right now, the amount of just like suffering and real struggle with people struggling to pay for basic needs because their incomes aren't going up and the cost of living has really shot up. And all these big companies have used this excuse of what's inflation to raise the price of food and other basic needs. I think that there'd be real interest from voters to sign a petition to put rent control on your ballot. And then if you did it that way, it could only be changed by another popular vote. Your city council couldn't remove it.
Wes said something, and so does Sandra.
Thank you, Blue. One of the things unique about Anaheim is the way that city council elections are funded. And most candidates who are successful get their money through the mouse. And if you threaten their power, which recently was done with one council member, who in my opinion was justifiably put up for recall. They spent $1 million, dropped $1 million without a blinking an eye, defending her. And I have no doubt that if we tried to ran candidates against 3 or 4 council members, they would drop even greater money. So I don't really know how to get around that. We need to elect better council is the problem.
And Sandra over there.
Sorry, I got it.
Oh, okay. Thanks for coming, Albert. This guy is the OG from Chicanos and Needles.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sandra.
I have a question. As a single mom, renter, business owner, small business owner, new business owner. I would like to know, how can I approach the Hispanic community? Or if you have any advice. I do a lot of help, schools, different organizations with teenagers. And I hear a lot of the struggles that they're going through due to rent control. They have to move. They have to move to Apple Valley. They have to move to Victorville. They have to move far because they cannot afford the rent here. And a lot of them are becoming voters this year, or they're going to be able to vote. And I said, your vote counts. But that stigma or our Hispanic community is so scared that these kids don't want to do it because they don't want retaliation to their parents. They're scared if they vote here that it might affect them. You know, how can I assure them that it's okay? And how can I talk to those parents and educate them or help them understand that it's okay to move forward and to support this project? Because our city council, you know, if they put at least 20% of the effort that they put to protect all the tourists, you know, to protect our community, to protect our children, that will help a lot. But you know, they can't do that. And a lot of schools are suffering and versions shutting down. And kids can't sleep. Literally 5 houses down, my daughter's best friend, they had to move to Apple Valley. And it was really sad. My daughter was sad. How can we help them? Can she stay here, mom? Can she go to school here? Because her friend couldn't sleep. Her parents are struggling. It's really sad to see this. And I have tons of stories from other kids and youth. So what can I do? How can I assure our community, our Hispanic community, most likely undocumented, and that's why they're afraid. What can I say to them to help them be comfortable and support and allow their kids to support this project?
I wanted to say that we actually had a very diverse group that was intergenerational, people of all ages, a lot of moms, a lot of single moms help win rent control. And the first thing is that there's actually a law in the state of California, AB 291, that protects undocumented renters from retaliation and intimidation from their landlords. So that's one thing. But I think aside from that, there were people that were kind of like uneasy about getting involved. And it's one thing to vote, and that's like a private thing that you do and nobody knows that happens. But some folks were afraid to go out there to knock on doors with us, especially in their own building. And we never asked anybody to do that, to knock on doors if they felt uncomfortable or if they felt like they were going to be retaliated against by their landlord. Even though we knew that we could organize to protect them, we never wanted to make somebody do something that they weren't comfortable with. So we'll always led with what people felt okay doing. But I think as our group grew and there was space to share each other's stories, to feel that support, people just started to develop more courage over time. It really makes a difference when you know somebody else is going through what you're going through and you feel their support, or you just come to a room full of people and you know that they have your back. So I think just, I guess, creating compassionate environments for people to begin to step into that courage and give space for that to happen at their own time.
One thing I can add to that is making sure that if there's something that the community could possibly include into a community drafted law. For example, when we were holding our community workshops about what would you like to see enacted into law? What would you like to see as a protection locally? At one point, one of our drafts included specific protections against eviction during the school year for any students under the age of 18 and any of their caretakers and that's pertaining to just cause evictions. And there's 2 types, there's technicalities. So making sure that if there is something that there is a fear that it can possibly be addressed and included, and find a way to possibly get that included as a local law, it might help people feel some sort of ownership, like, okay, I do feel like if we win this, this is something that I know for a fact is true because I was there when it was codified, basically. I think that also gives a lot of ownership and participation as well. Can offer that.
Okay, one more, Sophia wanted to say one, but, there's a lot of people. You got, just a quick thing? Okay.
So going back to what you could, what you could in Santa Ana, do you feel like you could pass even stronger things or different things with a ballot measure now that you won with the council on rent control? Like, could you pass like right to council or something like that for tenants? Do you think that the voters would still go further?
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely think so. Just because we've developed a lot of relationships and there's a lot of trust there. We also kept everybody's information. And we also proved that we weren't just making false promises. We stuck through to the end. Like, oh, there was even after it was enacted by city council, there was an effort to remove it. The apartment association funded something that's called a referendum, where they can gather signatures and then basically remove a law that's been passed by city council. They raised over $500,000, and we didn't have any money. We were just volunteers. We got moms and just people to come out to all the storefronts where they were actually lying to people to say if they signed it was in favor of rent control, because a lot of people didn't know it had already been enacted. We just like got them on camera lying to people. We had moms all over town, and at the end of it all, they didn't even turn in their signatures because they collected so little. So yeah, I think that we could.
Real quick on that too, to add to the catching them lying, Todd Spitzer's office refused to investigate the misdemeanors and misconduct that they were performing on the streets, lying to voters.
Yeah, I've noticed that these Santa Ana council people that were elected on the issue of rent control are also really good on other issues too. They seem to not be owned by special interests the same way as the others.
I just wanted to share something. You mentioned something about the law that protects, tenants. It's very unfortunate that here we have what is called fair housing rights. And I know, and I personally have been with like community members where they have reached out to this particular organization, and instead of being supported, they get turned back. So sometimes that also pushes our community to not pursue, and fight for what we need. I think me personally, I don't think that
Somebody's phone?
yeah. I personally think that everybody that sits in a board is not gonna sit there forever. And we're gonna stay here until God decides to take us. I'm not planning to move anywhere, so it is in my best interest to advocate, to fight, and to do whatever I have to do, because I'm the one that's gonna be suffering, and maybe if they evict us because we cannot afford it. But I just think that in the many years that I've been here, I've supported many campaigns and many people, and I've never had anybody ask me, are you okay? Are you struggling with anything? And I remember, yes, no, I'm gonna address it. I'm gonna address it. No, let me tell you, you support us and our students, and I will always say and speak highly of what you have done. I'm telling you right now, Jose, and it's very sad that you stopped talking to me because, who I support. And give me a second. I do thank you for all the support we have gotten. And in the past, I remember you asking me, Sophia, do you need help? When I was struggling with one situation, I am never going to hide, and I'm not the person that will hide anything that I've received from anyone. from anyone. I don't care who I speak to, who I support, and who I don't like or anything. And you should know, but don't take things personal, Jose. I appreciate you. You taught me many things, and no one's gonna take anything like that away. And if it's something personal, I'm sorry, because I'm not that type of person. I really think that, we just have to be there, we have to continue, and we have to be here for everyone that lives in the city. I'm sorry.
So, good afternoon, Jose Moreno, former council member. You and I will have that conversation. I'm just shocked when somebody says, no one has asked in our city, what can we do? Denise Barnes, who was on our city council, asked every day when she would walk with people, what can we do to help? I would do that regularly. That's how we met, because you had an issue with your landlord, and we held housing meetings at your apartment complex. When you say no one, I just want to make clear to everybody, we can't forget that in Anaheim, and you may have forgotten this, 2 times Denise Barnes and I proposed an emergency ordinance on rent control in our city of Anaheim. You then supported the very candidates who opposed that. You then supported a recall effort against a council member who refuses to even talk about affordable housing policy in our city. So I'm gonna hold anyone, so it's not personal, because we spend a lot of time as community in this with each other in trust. And so when we decide that all of a sudden we can say we need to unite after we support people who do nothing who really do nothing, then we have to hold ourselves accountable. So we'll have that conversation, Sophia. Don't remind, there is an ordinance in Anaheim that was proposed on rent control. So it's not like we're starting from scratch, just like Santa Ana didn't start from scratch. So that's why I appreciate what you said is you need people to stay consistent in their voice and have the courage to be consistent in that voice about who's standing up with them and for them, and not support people funded by special interests.
Thank you very much, Councilman Moreno. Okay, we want to give our guests a hand. You want to say something?
Well, besides our elected officials and the ordinances that get enacted, one big piece of our local government are the people at City Hall, who are the employees. And the more that the elected officials can pick good people to take the seats, we got a great guy at Santa Ana. His name is Judson Brown. He's the Division of Housing at City of Santa Ana. He's become one of our biggest advocates at the local city level in favor of the renters protections and making sure it gets enacted properly. Getting to know those people who are carrying out the law every day at the local level can also be of assistance. Meet with them, make sure you get their input, because they're the ones who are issuing permits, for example, for building. They're the ones who have to deal with the landlord's calls just because they're upset about 3% cap. Make sure you get to know, besides your local elected officials, that those who are carrying out the law, who actually do, you do interface with, you can interface on a day-to-day basis, that you know who they are as well.
Can we give our guests a hand, please? Can we give our guests a hand? And anybody interested that wants to get involved, we have the paper on the table for you to sign, a list for you to sign to get involved. Thank you very much. All right, we're 25 minutes behind, so we're gonna go ahead and ready this on. We got some candidates from District 5. What did she say? Vern describes.
Okay, well, everything changes. We got 2 candidates from District 5. They're both running against Andrew Sorega, who's kind of scary and has a lot of money. But I don't have time to talk about him. And we also got a candidate from District 1 who surprised us. Is Ojala still here? Ojala left. Okay, she can come next month. So Kristen Moss can speak for Kristen and Crystal Ruiz. You sit up here. They're both running against Andrew Sorega in District 5. And we'd like to hear what they have to say and ask them some questions when they're done speaking.
Have a seat.
Who wants to go first?
Thank you. I appreciate the invitation to be here tonight and the opportunity to listen to all the information that was presented. My name is Kristen Moss. I'm a lifelong resident of Anaheim, and I'm running for council because I care deeply about this city. I would like to see Anaheim meet its potential, and I would like to see a more equitable city. I would like to see each district have a voice at a city hall. I would like to be that voice and to be that connection between government, residents, and business. So I'm here to listen. My plan is to have continual meetings to listen to residents and again, be that connection between City Hall and our neighborhoods. So I look forward to questions and listening to what you have said.
Hi, I'm Crystal Ruiz. I've been a resident here for about 25 years. And I know yesterday was the first day of school for many of our students. And a little over 25 years ago, I started kinder here in Anaheim at Rovis Elementary. And school became a very safe place for me. My home, unfortunately, was not a safe place. And so I thrived there. But unfortunately, you know, I sit out at school. But my teachers didn't judge me. You know, they were great, safe people here in Anaheim and beyond in all of my schooling. And I learned, you know, that school was a safe place. And I want that to continue to be a safe place for our students, but also for our community to be safe, you know, for people to feel safe outside, you know, outside of their homes, in their businesses that they're visiting every single day. And you know, not too long ago in 2020, when the pandemic happened, I got diagnosed with complex PTSD. And that became my silver lining because it gave me a lot of answers and solutions to what I was going through, despite, you know, my thriving education and everything that I had going on. And so that's one of my platforms, mental health, because if we don't have mental health or well-being, we can't contribute to our community. We can't provide for ourselves and for others. And so that's why I stand strongly behind that. And I'm also addressing the in-house population because I know a lot of them are affected by mental health. And that's where it starts, right? If, you know, for example, for me, I didn't have a safe home, right? And so I probably, you know, would be somewhere else if I didn't have that safe space, you know, that I had in school. And I know a lot of our, you know, unhoused population are dealing with that, along with other things that they're dealing with. And I know a lot of people are doing a great effort, community organizations, the city as well, but we need to continue to address that. And I also stand behind community engagement because this is our city, right? Whether we want to look at, you know, our unhoused population or don't look at them, it affects us all. It affects our children, it affects our neighbors, right? And so I know all of you here are involved, but we need to continue to engage with our neighbors, with businesses that don't want to engage with the community, because it ultimately affects them. It affects us now, and it will continue to affect residents and businesses and tourists and whoever visits Anaheim. So thank you for your time.
Do you have any questions?
Yes.
Do you support rent control?
I support enforcing current state protections. What wasn't mentioned was SB 567, which does close some loopholes currently in AB 1482. So I'm interested in landlords knowing their obligation, renters knowing their rights, and having a safe place to report those concerns.
Thank you. I'm about enforcing what's already in place before adding new tenant protections. So
you wouldn't favor a situation like Anna?
I'm learning more and more about the situation. I want to be careful about unexpected consequences or unintended consequences. For all of my decision making, I'm going to be looking at both short-term and long-term impact. So
Sounds like the way Ashley talks.
yes.
Okay.
Same question.
Yeah, please.
I'm open to it. I'm all about learning. I need to look at both sides, right? You know, what I heard today, I hear and I understand, but I also need to see, you know, the other side that I'm not hearing. So I am open to it.
Oh, okay. Good.
Any other questions?
Go ahead.
So we just heard from the previous panel from Santa Ana, they said the candidates support rent control, that they passed, that comes back. God elected. You want to get elected? Yes.
I'm not gonna tell you something to get elected or for a soundbite. I'm gonna be authentic to who I am and give you honest answers.
Okay.
Yes, I'm not just gonna change just because it would get me elected.
Why are you? Why are you running?
Platform.
Not for rent control then. Why?
Rent control is not my platform. Public safety,
You want to know what you're doing.
public safety, addressing our homeless crisis, economic development, raising neighborhoods to meet their potential, having safe, engaged public spaces. Those are some of the things that I'm talking about.
The housing crisis, yes.
What about,
Excuse me, Bert, let her answer. Go ahead. Go ahead, man.
Yeah, so my platform stands on mental health, continue to address the unhoused population and community engagement.
either of you support a inclusionary housing ordinance so that new housing developments are required to have a percentage of affordable housing, low income affordable housing? Because we've been trying to get that from our council for a long time.
I am open to it. I would need to know more, but I'm not closed off to that idea.
Same, I think as long as it's fair across the board, taking a look at what options are out there to support the most people possible.
Steve,
You support a gate tax in Anaheim, an admission tax.
No, I'm here. Yeah. Sorry, a gate tax.
gate tax. For Disneyland, like certain candidates trying to make up.
Something like a 2% tax on Disneyland, and other big entertainment venues to go into our general coffers to help with the things that town people need.
I do.
Yay!
Any other questions? Somebody else have their hand up? Go ahead, Steve.
When both of you were asked about the platform, you raised subject area, and they were not connected to any position. When you say, for example, that it supports public safety, you could be talking about spending more money on police, increasing their pensions, giving higher stuff to firefighters, getting stronger enforcement of the laws, enforcing, enforcing people who are loitering, or you could be talking about training police and giving them the tools they need to not be engaged in ways that are shootings, that are going to lead to routes, etc. So just taking that one example, can you give some flesh to what you mean when you say certified safety?
Well, in terms of, I mean, I didn't address public safety directly, but in terms of like when I speak of mental health, I mean in general, right? Our businesses, our police officers, obviously our police officers are, front lines with a lot of trauma along with other first responders. And, I know that we have a police review board that have made recommendations. And I think along with them and, residents speaking about their own experiences with the police, make, additional recommendations to bring mental health to the forefront for them too, because, they're dealing with a lot. But it's also for all our residents, right? Our children. I know there's a lot of organizations doing a lot of work, but how can we, band together to make that accessible to everybody? Because even though we have those resources, not a lot of people know about them, right? Sometimes there's different barriers, right? So getting what we already have and then continuing, how can we improve upon what we already have? And how we can make it more accessible to everybody.
And I don't think it's an either or. I think it's okay to make sure that public safety has the equipment that they need to protect us and protect ourselves, as well as the training necessary, whether it's their own mental health training or how to address situations on the street. I think public safety is more than that, though. It's about community engagement, neighborhood-led solutions. I think, I like the neighborhood walks that I see with code enforcement, with public works, with the police, to identify areas that need attention. So community-led solutions is important to me.
Last question, Mike. Piggyback on the gentleman said here about one police officers and stuff like that. What are you gonna do about that police officer that continuously calls on to the public and give the police officer a bad reputation, giving us, those of us who are afraid of calling the police simply because of who we are and our status? And of course, the financial drain from all those lawsuits. How are you gonna address that?
Again, that's an area I'm still learning on, but I do believe in accountability and transparency of our police officers. I know the brotherhood is strong, but the bad ones need to be held accountable for their actions.
That's kind of difficult because if you go to the police department right now and ask to file a complaint on a police officer, good luck.
It's important that people are comfortable filing reports. They know how to, and they're comfortable. So I'll work towards that.
It's not that people aren't comfortable filing it, but the police department won't take it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the FBI and Albert, it's the point. I mean, your promises to Albert are empty. You're not actually taking any action.
We're so needy and hungry for action. There's a lot of talking, which is fantastic. But what we need is action, and that's what we better finally comes and for the sake of the city, for the sake of us, for the sake of the unified Alabama and every respect.
Last question, because I gotta let them go. We close.
Define public safety, because when I canvas and some doors, they say, oh, the homeless in front of my house is a safety issue for me. And are you looking at it as public safety is the problem that it makes on the homeless, or the part that, like, if it's too aggressive of a police, or, like, I like to know that how do you define public safety?
For me, public safety is all around, right? For me, my home wasn't safe, right? So I sought out safety outside of there, right? But many times people find unsafe places to find, a safe place, which sometimes it is not. So I find that all encompassing, right? In homes, in schools, businesses, out in the streets. I find that everywhere. If people don't feel safe for whatever reason, right? Somebody going too fast, right? Somebody doing something they're not supposed to. Situations differ, but I find that all encompassing in terms of public safety, because I know it's different for everybody too.
I would say in general, reduced response times indicate a safer community, but also people feeling safe and supported in their neighborhoods, where they shop, where they work. In my closing, I just want to say thank you again for inviting me to be here. So I am independent. I'm no party preference. I appreciated listening to the meeting tonight and having an opportunity to be here amongst you. So thank you.
I thank you as well for this opportunity. I'm here to listen. I'm, not fully aware of everything that, goes on in the city. So I'm open to, listening about anything that you have going on that you feel, the city hasn't heard you, and I'll consider depending on what it is. So thank you so much.
Okay. I have one last question. as a ex-candidate that was sitting in the seat 4 years ago, like you, are either one of you accepting money from SOAR?
No, I don't think SOAR is still an entity or around, to my understanding. So no. Yeah.
Yes, because see, I think everybody in here wanted to know that question because we know what the association with SOAR is. So both of y'all said no. Guess what? Thank you very much. Appreciate you. Can we give them a hand? Okay. Now, 8:40, we're a little bit behind 10 minutes. We need to nominate new officers for the next upcoming year. New officers. And not only do we need to nominate new officers, we need to go ahead and discuss our future with the DPOC. The DPOC is the Democratic Party of Orange County. They want to put us on probation. Okay. Everybody don't know what we have been through as administration. First, our vice president had wrote an article because he has an editorial page. So he wrote it, and the next thing you know, it wasn't who they endorsed. And they sent a letter to us telling us that he either had to take it down out the paper and never promised to write anything against that candidate, and he still had to resign. Then the next thing you know, we had somebody who went to a meeting at the DPOC, Mike Robbins. And this is when things was very delicate with our Palestinian-Israel situation. And next thing I know, they were talking about he couldn't come back to the meeting. Then it was something else that happened where he was passing out flyers at the mayor's state of the city. And they said that violated policy. Yeah. So that was another thing. We voted to support the recall. Well, as a club, and they went ahead and said, no, you can't endorse. We should have used the word support. United here. Ada. Ada. So this is what we have to go ahead and think about. And one reason that I have to give up being president is because I wanted to put something on YouTube telling about the real political climate here in Anaheim, about politicians not caring about us, about the rent control, about the homeless, about how a lot of people don't even know how our mayor was prosecuted. He's being prosecuted by the FBI. They don't know about Angel Stadium. Why they don't know? Why? One of the reasons they don't know is because Disneyland owns who? ABC News, all the rest of them. They know what to push and what not to push. They just put it out there. But we know that, guess what? Just like Santa Ana, here in Anaheim, it's getting more expensive to live. And the people who have built this city will not be able to afford to live in if we don't do something. And as I said before, I'm a homeowner. Most of us in here are homeowners. But just because I can go home and lock my door don't mean I don't feel for what's going outside my door. Especially if you are boots on the ground like me for feeding the homeless. And it's growing. I don't care what they say. They can go ahead and talk the stats. It's released. It's reduced 20%, whatever. No, it's still growing. And if we don't care as humans, as just humans about our fellow Americans, then I can just say it's a sad day for our country. So I'll say that because I wanted to go ahead and put it out there. Just put it out there how Disneyland and all of them is corrupting our city. Our city is over $4 billion in debt. Nobody talks about that. Why are we $4 billion in debt? We got Disneyland, Angels, Ducks, because we keep on electing people that give them the good deals, that give us the bad deals. And it's time to put it out there. Organizations like SOAR support our Anaheim resident. I said, screw our Anaheim resident. So I'm just telling you. And guess what? And they got so corrupted. Everybody doesn't know. Like this gentleman right here, and Sophia, about the JL report, mock interviews that they were going ahead and giving. We got our city councilmen over there taking a mock interview. Y'all get ready for these questions. Come on. FBI, we need to clean it up. And if we don't clean it up, guess what? The generations behind us are going to suffer. Our children and our children's children. That's why we got to get involved with this this president and everything else. We got to keep our democracy. So to discuss our future with the DPOC, well, I want to first thing, let's see if we're going to need officers. Because we need to discuss this. I want to get the view of one person, Ed. Ed can tell is our ex-president, and he can tell us he's more involved with the DPOC as forth as knowledge-wise than I believe than anybody that's in here. And he can tell us our advantages, and he can tell us, since he was our ex-president, what he thinks about the situation. Can you come up here, please? Thank you. Can we give him a hand? All right, church. Ed Lopez.
Thank you, and good evening, everyone. I didn't come prepared to discuss this evening, but I'll just say a few words about it. The relationship between the club and the DPOC has always been a difficult one. This has always been a very independent-minded club, and sometimes we have differed with the DPOC over endorsements concerning Anaheim candidates. And because we are chartered by the DPOC, we are limited in that we cannot oppose any candidates that have been endorsed by the DPOC, nor can we support any who are running against an endorsed candidate. So it has greatly limited our ability to really support the candidates that we like and oppose the candidates that we don't like. And that has been an ongoing problem for a number of years. So we have had these issues with the DPOC, and I think for a while now, a number of us have been thinking about what would be the advantages of dissolving the club and reconstituting it as a different kind of club that is not affiliated with the DPOC. So we would not be subject to those restrictions of not being able to support the candidates that we want or oppose the candidates that we want. And so as I understand it, there are certain issues that the leadership of the club is having right now with the DPOC. I can't speak to those. I'll let the officers talk about those. Kenneth has mentioned some. But apparently things are kind of coming to a head with the DPOC right now, is what I understand from Vern. So the question is now, do we want to continue with this? Do we want to kind of comply with the demands that they are making of the club now in order to keep our charter? Or do we want to consider possibly dissolving the club, giving up the charter, and reconstituting the club as a different kind of organization that is not affiliated with the DPOC? So that's kind of the issue that I think that Kenneth is suggesting we can discuss. But as I understand it, the idea is not to vote on that tonight, but perhaps to vote on that next month.
And not only, yeah, to discuss it so we can vote on it, but also I want to point out to everybody what the real issue is here. As an independent member, you can do anything, support who you want. But as an officer under the DPOC, you cannot go out and support anybody against that they endorse. As an officer.
We're also not allowed to have, now that the DPOC has endorsed Norma for District, Council District 4, we can't have our San Francisco speaker, at least by candidacy.
So these are the, I wanted to make sure that that was right. And another thing that was brought up was them in the DPOC with their central committee deciding on the best candidates for us that live here in the city. So that meant like somebody down in San Juan Capistrano is deciding on who our candidates should be from the DPOC. Yes, sir.
Why don't DPOC at least consult with club and then we get one for making those kind of decisions.
We got one vote on like 6, 7, or 8.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, that we do. We get one vote. When we voted for Norma, the two people from residents of Anaheim voted against it.
And
The people who went ahead and voted for it lived outside of Anaheim. So this is part of what I'm talking about. Is the disconnect, and we trying to figure out, because when we talk about getting out of the DPOC, we're talking about getting out of the Democratic Party for California also, because they're all connected. Wes.
Okay, the way I understand it's not just a binary thing. It's not, our choices is not just leaving the DPOC and becoming independent. There are other groups that we can align with. And I think there's progressive Democrats, other things that we can align with independent of the DPOC. So it's an involved discussion, a nuanced discussion. We should do research and really have a vibrant discussion about it, and maybe get some speakers.
Yes, maybe we get somebody down here from the DPOC to give us the advantage versus we know the disadvantage.
Yeah.
Diamond?
Yeah, I don't think we have to do that because it's been my time in DPOC about a decade. They have somebody here. Even though who they are, we should just see. What I would say is we need to worry about most of the time. We are coming into an election where we care a lot about a number of candidates. You have trans, as you mentioned, Francis Marquez, and I cannot overemphasize how much they want to get rid of us. And I know this because I was the target myself once. And they are just as narcissistic and authoritarian as Donald Trump is. I don't say that, but if we are going to go against them, let's call it like rolling rain. Something like that, because it's going to be bad PR and that sort of thing. You know, it's going to do we want to do it before the election? They want us to sit for us on September 12th as to what we're doing, or do we want to try to let things slide along until after the election? And I will tell you, my feeling is, this may surprise people, give them what they want for now. And when it comes to November 12th, or whatever, November 8th, is that the 7th? Then we should feel free to do everything else. Now, if we want, we are mostly concerned about giving them a black eye, then do it earlier and hope that our PR system, as much as it is better than theirs. Well, we can give them a bit of a black eye. I would rather focus on winning races. And for everybody who wants to, we can't do anything, get involved with anything like Democratic Socialists of America, Progressive Democrats of America. It has the word Democratic.
Yes, they pointed that out, that we would not be able to name our club Democratic if we do not stay with them.
Any of us who want to can affiliate with an organization, can say that, yeah, we're also members of this, and get involved with what they do. I would rather dare them to kick us out before the election, even if our members individually are doing that, and give themselves their own black, rather than being the ones to do it to them by disaffiliating them.
Yes, sir.
You may have been touched on the last few minutes we've been talking about, but just long term, not time sensitivity or what we could be called or the naming of it. But can you share with us, if we become independent, what's the biggest thing we lose that's meaningful that we would be independent? That's meaningful. Maybe if you would do. Okay, I'm talking about as a group.
The first thing that we do is we lose our affiliation with the Democratic Party of California.
Like I said, what's the most meaningful?
Okay. The next thing is they do PDI. I'm gonna let Vern go ahead if he knows a little bit more about it.
Yeah, I've been thinking about the pros and cons, and to some of you, I don't know, maybe nobody here, but to some people, it might be a sentimental thing that you like to be connected to the party, but concretely, we get one vote on endorsements. We used to get PDI that we could use to look up our voters, and they took it away from me because they forced me to resign. And I was the person that was using it. And one other thing, they're helping us do Zoom, but we would have to get our own Zoom account. That's all I can think of.
Yeah. What's PDI?
PDI is a way to look up voter information.
Political data and call.
Like when each of you joins and pays your dues, I look you up and I put all your addresses and your
Neighbors, it tells anybody.
PDI number.
A Democrat, independent, whatever, they let you know all of the whole city.
A question from Cynthia.
Okay, I am not a Democrat. I am not a member of this club. And 98% of the reason for that is the DPOC. I will go to my grave furious with them for what they did to Denise Barnes. And they stuck Anaheim with Jose Diaz in District 1 because of what they did to Denise Barnes. They could have flipped a seat from red to blue. She went from Republican to Democrat based on the offer of an endorsement, and they yanked it out from under her and humiliated her in the thing. So I'm looking at what you guys get, just as somebody from the outside. I don't see any advantage to you in being aligned with the Democrats because, okay, so they let you have PDI, but you can't use it unless you're going out for their candidates that you don't like anyway. You can't use it for your own candidates. You can't call yourself Democrats. You know what? You come up with something like Anaheim progressives, you might grab somebody like me who's a no party preference voter that I don't want to be associated with the name Democrat. Not that you're not fine people, but because of the DPOC. So that's just, I'm looking on the outside. I'm on the outside looking in. I don't see any advantage to you guys.
Something, actually, the MPPs, they are not allowed to talk tonight, based on the POC. If they know, they're gonna complain that they talked even though they are not Democrats.
Well, as long as they didn't have an endorsement.
She's running as a MPP, you're not allowed to speak yet.
Well, she can come and speak, you just can't endorse her.
I know from other clubs that they do not allow, and whenever they allow, so the POC doesn't know.
And we'll
That's
find
what
out.
it is.
Okay, we'll find out tomorrow. Go ahead.
So I think it's really sad that the DPOC thinks that they're our parent. As somebody who was targeted by them in this most recent go round, but has been targeted by them in the past, Vernon and I were accused of doing things that we did not do. And that is part of what the probationary period supposedly is. What I will say is the most concerning thing that I have heard from them, and I heard it on Tuesday night at the Zoom meeting, and I heard it at the all club meeting on Saturday before. There is no freedom of speech. Forget about the First Amendment. Forget about that. There is no freedom of speech. You are not free to say what you want. You are not free to do what you want. You are not free to support or endorse who you want. You will do what they say, when they say it, and jump however high they say. And I'm going to be 64 years old next month, and I'm not going to do that. I'm not. I refuse. I will walk for Francisco. I will endorse him. I will stand up there at the microphone and tell everything bad about Norma Kurtz, and that is against all of their rules. But they aren't going to tell me what to do. I'm sorry. So.
Here's what we actually officially lose. You may be imagining that we'd be replaced with a vacuum. We won't. They will establish a Democratic Party of Anaheim, Anaheim Democratic Club. And it will be their people, it will be their parents, it will be their ass lickers. And that will be who presents the message to the public about what Democrats think in the largest city in the county. Okay, now I'm thinking more about the short term, but understand that we do give up being the go-to source for people who are interested in seeing what Democrats speak. And if we say we're just a new organization or something like that, that's something that Cynthia and I tried before. We did not get the kind of contact with the public that we could have as something operating within the party. We're not who journalists go to, okay? We're not who politicians go to. And we may give that up. I think it's probable that eventually we'll have to. But we should make that certain decision tactically and yes, timed to have the effect that we want it to be. Okay, but we will not be as influential as we have been.
Basically, what's the word I want to use? The threat we're under is that we can't keep Mike Robbins as a officer. We have to let, or he has to resign, or we have to let him go, or they'll take away our charter. And we also can't let people like Francisco, who are running against an endorsed candidate, speak, which is a big problem for me. That's it.
So, yes, we do. We're gonna take that to next thing to decide. And, go ahead, Steve, go ahead.
I agree with Greg that you know we will lose the potential of speakers coming to our meeting. We're no longer a lot of us joined because we wanted to be the Democrats of Anaheim. We were part of the California Democratic Party. I don't like the DPOC. I don't like the way they're treating us. I think the one thing that would make them happiest in the world is for us to quit. They would be so pleased. My suggestion is that we remain a festering thorn in their side for as long as we possibly can, with a minimal amount of effort on our part. And beyond that, there's no reason to quit. I think that the cost is too great. I don't know where. One other thought. We was brought up was that we're required to turn over our treasury and our membership list to the DPOC if we quit. So, we really want to do that. Think about that. The new Anaheim Democratic Club will then be able to poach all of our membership, and we will be not much.
Me as a president, I think that we should just comply right now to their terms. Because, and I'll discuss that with Mike to go ahead and make that decision. Okay. Okay. But now I want everybody to know this. We have 3 officers: Roxanne, Rebecca, myself, when we had 5. That's why I said we need to nominate new officers. Because what I'm about to go ahead and put down, if I can get it done by November, the TPOC is not gonna like it. And me being an officer would go ahead and violate our probation.
One thing I want to know, if you're not going to be president.
Excuse me.
Right, I can stay president. That's when we bring in the next one, so in November, December. And we bring them in November or December. The new officers. Ed. We bring him in November or December. October. Okay, that's why we need to nominate. Okay. Okay, so first thing, let's start from the bottom then. What is the no. Yes. Roster secretary. Because first thing, let me say this right here. Rebecca has been doing a great job as the roster secretary. Anytime we had a chance, a question to ask her, Rebecca was on it. Matter of fact, she was asking us some questions about, the Zelle and those accounts and things of the sort for people who was paying the memberships like that. So I can go ahead and just tell you, they'll have a tough act to follow. Okay, but roster secretary, do we have a nomination? Roster secretary.
People can delegate responsibility.
Right.
No.
Hey,
So
Vern,
this is just somebody who's keeping track on people who's joining, who's attending our meetings. And basically, and keep an eye on the membership. I think
hey,
that's a
Vern,
responsibility. Vern cannot be it.
I can't, I'm bad at phrases.
That was this is what I was talking about with the DPLC. Vern's on the bad boy of the list, Mike, that's why I said, so we have to have some fresh blood.
I nominate Phoebe Amos.
Go ahead.
Can we have an officer and then a volunteer to be the staff?
Yes.
Who would,
Yes.
they do whatever they want?
Yes.
Who could,
To assist.
a lot of us assist, I
Right.
would say.
Yeah, to assist. Yes, we can. Okay. Right. That's what we're trying to say. Make everybody else can campaign. Only if you're an officer, you cannot campaign for another candidate unless they're endorsed. You know what? He cannot even, until while this meeting is going on, he cannot even come up here to address the crowd.
What if it's not about his candidacy, it's about some issue?
If it's another issue, yeah, but as far as the candidate, they went ahead and told me, how, to the point they told me, once I adjourn the meeting or before, he can address. But once the meeting is going on, he can't say a word.
hello. I'd like to
Okay,
speak.
you like to be the Vern? Somebody said they would like to be nominated right here.
Oh, Rob, please. Who is it?
Don't know.
This
Would
is
you like to be
Daniel
for Dan
Hankin.
Hankin?
Yeah.
Okay, so you,
I've been an educator for a very long time. And I have been a history educator. And I'm going to tell you what the DPOC is stating and what they're saying that this group should do is a total farce. They cannot force this club to do anything that is outside the Constitution of the United States. And that's exactly what they are doing.
Take away our charter. They have the
Let them
rules.
take it. Let them take it. If this charter is as important as I believe that it is to us, then we as a group can ultimately prevail. And I think by bowing to what they are doing is wrong. This is the same kinds of things that Donald Trump is asking the United States citizens to do.
Okay, good points, Mr. Hankin. Thank
so we
you.
need to, wait a minute. It's 9:26. We're supposed to be over with at 9 o'clock. So we're getting ready to get this done real quick.
So Phoebe is nominated for roster secretary.
Baby's nominated.
Nominate Wes.
Wes went ahead and declined.
Okay.
I think he wants to be recording secretary.
Have a show of hands of someone who wouldn't mind being a figurehead appointment with able assistance as we get through this process.
We already have. Well, see, that's what, right, because.
I need to be seconded.
Okay, okay, I was gonna say, I got a motion to go ahead and have it for the second. All in favor? All opposed? Okay, huh?
Oh, good.
For the nomination. Just for the nomination, that's all it is. Right, right. Okay, so what's the next position? Okay.
For recording secretary, and I nominate Wesley Jones.
Okay, I second the motion. I second it. Okay, so we got Wes. Now we're moving right on up to next one. Treasurer.
Ken Roxanne, keep doing it, she's been doing a great job.
I would have to check with her. You know, especially since what she went through. That's what I'm saying, like that.
Well, we can pick up the slack until she's feeling better.
Well, we can put it down, but like I said, to get her okay. So right now, we'll put her down. Do we have anybody to assist her?
Steve's a good treasurer.
Who?
Steve, except you wanted to do something else.
Treasurer? Sure.
C. White for treasurer.
Assistant or?
No, you the treasurer. What we're going to try to do is get you somebody to help. Okay, all right. VP, Vice President. Any suggestion? Who? Oh, no, you can't do that. That would be against the probation. Yes, Steve.
I nominate Carly Mendez.
Thank you. All right. And thank you for coming. All right.
I want to make a pitch without getting shot down immediately. I nominate Ed Lopez for either vice president or president, and I'll tell you why. Because they respect you despite your intelligence and your integrity. But not just get one shot.
What do you say, Mr. Lopez? Okay, that's another, any other suggestions from VP?
Rosa Dominguez.
Right here. Oh, they love that. Well, you're not on the bad boys.
Well, you're being told not to give your opinion.
The bad boys list was named for me.
Okay. Any suggestions? VP? President? Any volunteers? I know there's some leadership up in here now, come on. And we're here to help, excuse me, I'm here to help. Okay? Yes, sir. Just 1 year. 1 year, 12 meetings and maybe about 3 special events. Oh, you have the e-board, yeah. In between, so that's it.
Mike Robbins for president.
He said Mike Robbins. That's part of the probation.
Let him deal with it.
I nominate
Okay.
David Duran.
What is your name? Adrian Stevens. We'll put him down for VP. What you call? Now, last position, president. And I'm here to help.
Joe Biden.
Okay, I want you to know I'm here to help. Because like I said, what I plan on putting out is, guess what? They will never, ever vote for a sore candidate again.
You know what, though, you're not doing that for a few months, so why don't you just stay on for a few months?
No. I am doing it. That's what I'm telling you. I'm in the process of doing it right now. But I stay on to November, but like I said, we need somebody to go ahead and take over the reins.
We'll figure it out by,
We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. Okay, excuse me, any announcements? Anybody have any announcements? Okay, it's 9:32. We are adjourning the meeting. Thank you. Yeah, we're adjourned. So now he can come up and speak.
Hi, Alia. We're all going home now.
I was